Mr. Speaker.
I'll go with Grant Robertson. Grant Robertson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It is indeed a pleasure to stand and give a lengthy address on the topic of the Statutes Amendment Bill. I first too want to pay tribute to the Government Administration Committee, a very busy committee, a committee that has to turn its mind to many different items and is very well chaired by the Honourable David Parker. And also I want to pay tribute to the National Party members, particularly John Hayes, who nimbly moves between applications on his e-committee files, looking for details there. He doesn't need to use paper anymore. Johnny's right on top of that. And Nikki Kay, who throughout actually this bill tempted the committee with a clause that perhaps she was going to oppose, going to stand up in the committee stage of the House and oppose. And we waited and we waited in the committee, Mr. Speaker, and we never heard what it was. So perhaps we will in the committee stages, but Nikki Kay wasn't able to do that for us. Mr. Speaker, Leanne Dalziel's already said that statutes amendment bills play a very important role in the House in being able to make minor and technical changes without the need to produce a large number of individual bills. Omnibus bills like this are obviously useful for the House, and this brings together 2 years' worth. So it's really an omnibus bill in that sense. I do, however, just want to make one note that in the cross-party consultation, the Labor Party did feel that one or two of the bills were moving beyond the technical change to perhaps more in the policy realm. And I would just make that as a note of caution. Most of those clauses were able to be dealt with fairly easily, but any expansion of the scope of how a statutes amendment bill might work is something that would concern us. One example of this was in the Births, Deaths and Marriages and Relationships Registration Act, where there was a change around whether a parent's signature was required if that parent was overseas. And while that might seem like a relatively minor change, that is actually quite significant in terms of the responsibilities on parents. But perhaps more significantly were the changes to the Conservation Act. And we did get a submission on that matter, and that's worthy of note in itself, from an external party, from Mr Graham Edgler, around the scope of that bill, of that change. Not so much about whether it was the right or wrong thing to do, but whether it was extending the scope of an offence. In this case, it was an offence relating to dogs causing serious injury to protected wildlife. And I just think it's important to note that that's perhaps, Mr Speaker, an example of where the bill begins to move beyond just a technical amendment to something that's actually widening the scope of an offence. Now, the committee was able to deal with that given the high quality of its membership, but it is an issue if we look to future statutes amendment bills. So with that contribution, Mr Speaker, I'm happy to support this bill.